means no dudes allowed.
No dudes allowed? I'll show them who's a dude!
Okay, imagine a prison that's basically a theme park built by an insane version of Willy Wonka. Now that prison is built inside of a volcano that is built inside of yet another volcano. I guess the volcano's not built, but you get what I'm saying. It's a volcano in a volcano. And every episode starts like it's gonna be some kind of normal cartoon plot, but then it mutates into a full screen avalanche of violence, transformations, and psychedelic chaos that your brain literally cannot process in one pass. That's Superjail. And the real question isn't what happens in it, it's how did this get made? And why is it so weirdly beautiful despite the grotesque things on screen currently? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is Dakosity, and today we're talking about Superjail. I'll be explaining what the hell it even is, how it's made, why the structure actually works quite well, and why it became such a cult classic. We're doing the typical video essay extravaganza once again on this amazing show that I actually quite enjoyed. I watched the entire thing from start to finish, all 4 seasons, all like 36 episodes I think it has, just in one sitting, and I'm honestly quite surprised. I thought this was gonna be Adult Swim slop, and I'm gonna be honest, probably one of my favorite Adult Swim shows now. I kind of wish they made more episodes, but we'll get to all that in the video. All right, we're doing all of it. If you end up enjoying this video, dude, I have tons of little essays and commentary videos on cartoons, especially Adult Swim stuff. The Robot Chicken, Xavier Renegade Angel, Wonder Sojin, that was MTV too, but I make a lot of videos on this channel about funny stuff that people watched at 3 o'clock in the morning, all right? As well as other things, but those are the ones that do good, so I'm gonna keep doing that. So like and subscribe and hit the hype button and all that stuff. I got 3,000 subs. Thank you for that, by the way. That was fantastic. I love you guys. Anyways, let's finally hop into the actual meat and potatoes of this thing that I'm creating currently. I love you.
Hey, you calling this a racing?
Superjail premiered in 2008 on Adult Swim, and it was created by Christy Caracas, Stephen Warbrick, and Ben Gruber. Wait a second. Christy worked on Baby Shark? Though it may have officially came out in 2008, it had a weird slow rollout period where in 2007 of May, the pilot came out, and then the second episode, which is the official episode, came out in April of 2008. And before that, if you want to really go back, Caracas and Warbrick actually made a short that this entire thing was inspired by called Bar Fight in like 2001. Decades almost in the making, this wonderful show. To turn Bar Fight into an actual full-fledged series, though, they had to go with a more grand setting, and they settled on jail because that kind of justifies having tons of riots and violence. And then they just kind of sprinkled a little rainbow and cutesy shit here and there, making it look like a whole ass R-rated Dr. Seuss book. Well, I guess show. God, I missed the Cat in the Hat, the live action one. Maybe I'll make a video on that. I watched that so many times as a kid, you have no idea. I actually got in trouble with my parents because I kept buying it on, pay-per-view on the television when I was like 3. Spent like $200 of my dad's hard-earned money, and then they got divorced. It ended up getting 4 seasons with a TVMA V framing. The V is for violence. Vi stands for vicious. Let me know in the comments if you get that reference. Although in season 4, it did stop at 6 episodes where it was kind of silently canceled. I don't know if Mr. Pickles is at fault, but I'm making a video on that son of a bitch next. And let me tell you, I hate that show. And even the thought that it had anything to do with this show going away makes me hate it even more. But what the hell even happens in a typical episode of Superjail? Well, I'm gonna tell you right now. First off, fun fact, the pilot, Super Bar, that's what it's called, episode 0, as a homage to the fact that the entire thing is inspired by a thing literally called Bar Fight. The Super Bar takes place in a bar that's in the jail. Yeah, I'm just gonna cut myself off here. I'm a little stupid idiot. The real pilot is called Bunny Love. All right, if you want to go watch that on YouTube, it's actually pretty good. So even though they went with the jail setting, because you know they could actually stretch that into an 11-minute thing and it would give them an excuse to constantly have fights in different locations inside of a giant prison, right? They still went with the goddamn bar. The warden builds a bar in there, and you know it gets very violent because the prisoners try to escape, and then there's like a giant hold to Atlantis that comes in a very well animated, just violent scene. I can't wait to do the best and worst episodes review on this, dude. You have no idea. But typically in the first 1 or 2 minutes, the scheme appears, right? The warden wants to do something usually fucking stupid. He does it. Chaos just starts to escalate indefinitely upwards forever. And usually in the last 90 seconds, there's this massive final collapse. Usually climaxing with just this beautiful array of non-stop violence. There's basically no dialogue. It's just shit dying, people getting stabbed, or you know, like weird monsters eating people, or robots shooting each other, you know, like just the most batshit insane stuff you could possibly think of happening on screen. There are parts where it kind of breaks the format though. For example, Time Police in the first season, the warden is taken out of the prison and he's like being judged because apparently he's gonna become like Super Hitler and rule the whole world and destroy everything, but he hasn't even done it yet. But they don't care, they still like arrest him, and it's like a 2-parter, right? Oddly enough, there is continuity in this. Characters will die, stuff will happen, and in the next episode they're fine, but we also get reoccurring characters, and we keep a lot of the lore that those characters had when they actually showed up.
Sanser. Your name is Sanser.
So like Lord Stingray, he's like this bad person who manipulates the warden, tries to take over Superjail, and ends up just being another inmate for the rest of the show. Constantly reoccurring, just to be a punching bag most of the time. Him and this puppet that ends up coming in later kind of get into it too. It's really funny. Ash is my favorite person though. He's one of the inmates. He has fire powers. In fact, I think it's season 3 where they literally turn Superjail into Super Hell. I think the first episode of season 4 is called Superjail. Sorry, I watched the whole thing in one sitting. All right, it's getting a little blurry, and I don't have notes for this. I'm going off script right now. There's no script. It's just bullet points. We got the gay couple, Alice the guard, who's yeah. The warden, who is my favorite character, like top 10 most favorite fictional characters of all time. I love him. He kind of reminds me of Rick and Morty, right? He's Rick, but like without the super genius, but he clearly is a genius because he built all of this stuff. Superjail, he built this, and he builds the robots and shit. Half the time, half the reason stuff happens in the plot is because I built a freaking dream machine that just grapes everyone's minds during the night, and he like puts seeds in their dreams, and then eventually there's this massive dream battle. Oh my, that was a good episode too. He ends up just like going insane. Everyone ends up going insane and like dying at the end of that one. But he'll do all this and still act like a tard, but also act like he's like able to become a victim to a lot of these circumstances, like people even just running up and stabbing him, even though he can clearly shapeshift, right? And usually it's played for gags. Usually it's okay, he's just explaining something to Jared or Alice or, you know, someone, and he uses the shapeshifting to kind of convey his point better or just be more animated because he's a funny character, right? He's a funny Looney Tunes, Dr. Seuss kind of guy. But no, the shapeshifting he does end up using versus some of the villains as an actual power to overcome them. So it's like, which is it? How am I supposed to power scale this for my Set the Programmer video? Can he beat Goku? Probably. He's using Toon Force. But then there's Ariel. Multiversal and where the hell am I going with this? Oh yeah, there's Jared too. I just mentioned him and then mentioned him before, huh? The Jared guy, that he's got a big head. He's a little short guy with a big head and he's a little shit. He's usually the rational person, right? But he is a recovering alcoholic, or I guess he isn't an alcoholic anymore, but he was, and sometimes that comes up. Same with gambling. To be honest, he seems to have tons of vices that he used to have, but now that he's in Superjail as the, you know, little assistant of the warden, he's fine, but obviously that stuff comes up a lot and he goes crazy. He also ends up having sex with a Frankenstein version of this girl that he liked from Ultra Prison. Yes, that's a thing. There's a gender bent version of Superjail that comes up very early, and it comes out throughout the show. There's an entire story arc for Ultra Prison, and it's actually pretty good. And my other favorite character, Jailbot. He's always seen in the intro, getting this guy Jackknife, who's one of their worst inmates, who's constantly escaping. He's always in the intro for their little like cold open. You know how the Simpsons have their funny little couch gags. Well, Superjail has Jackknife killing people or groping women, and then Jailbot burst out of someone's skin or burst out of the car and just beats the ever-living shit out of him before dragging him back to Superjail most of the time. It's great. But yeah, Jailbot is kind of the muscle, right? Alice is too, but Jailbot's really the muscle of the jail. He's the warden's best invention ever, and he can do all sorts of cool shit. He can fly, he can turn into people, apparently. He can use his little tentacles to he just lays down the law in Superjail, all right? I love him so much, and he's such a cute bastard, right? He's always taking care of the kids, usually. Also, kids die in this show. There's a whole episode where one of the kids with the cancer comes to Superjail for her name's Cancer. Ash like takes care of her, and then she actually dies. Like, she actually just starts coughing up blood and dies from the cancer. And it is really sad because she's a cute little like peanut, you know? And then there's the twins, who are constantly causing issues around the jail. A lot of the times the plot kind of goes off the rails because they decided to teleport in and just ruin whatever the warden's doing or something, you know? They'll just teleport in. Oh, let me switch this bottle, so instead of it being a growth serum, it makes the person who drinks it super attractive to bugs, you know, or stuff like that. They create like a super being that ruins the Coliseum episode, etc., etc. They speak in this very funny way. I guess I'll just play a clip.
Surf is up. Beach blanket blammo.
And they also just have this like background music that plays while they speak. I love them. They're all the characters in this show are very unique and very memorable, and just have these little personalities that make them very likable. Once they tried to kind of start adding lore into the show too, the twins, we find out that they can reproduce. This is probably the worst episode out of the series, to be honest, where one of them gets pregnant with a baby that they then eat in the climax, or that they're from this alien planet. And there's like a hunter that was sent after them, and like the alien dude wants them back, and they have brothers that come and cause another problem later down the line in like season 3. They just add to the chaos even more. Yet another person that usually adds some kind of chaotic, crazy, insane element to the story is the doctor, right? He's the mad scientist. The warden always comes to him when he wants something made that has anything to do with like biology, right? There's one episode where they start selling human body parts to the black market, since, I mean, you might as well. They need money, and the prison's constantly having people get killed or murdered, and like you know, dismembered and everything, might as well make some money off of it, right? They sell it to like the black market, to hospitals and shit, and eventually they just flat out start harvesting the prisoners because they run out of the stuff that's just kind of usually around, right? In that very episode too, he ends up becoming the lead of a hive mind because all of those body parts and shit became sentient somehow, and they were like eating up other prisoners to make them join, but he just dove in naked. He didn't even have to get torn apart or anything. He just jumped in. He's like, I love this. This is perfect. That ends up going awry though because they start a race war inside the hive mind glob monster. That was really funny. I was not expecting that to be the solution. As the series progressed though, especially after the two-parter in season 1, they kind of broke away from the formula just a little bit. It was more of a continuity, right? They slowly kind of built character arcs. Oh my god, dude. Character arcs, Christ, for every character. Shocking. As opposed to having them stay as the same exact portrayal every episode, regardless of what happens, right? Jared becomes more bold. The warden, on it, he stops being super in love with Alice, I think. He was super in love with her during Superbar, during the pilot, and a couple times after that. Oh, by the way, Alice has this one inmate that is her lover, kind of, and she just kind of tortures him, like, horribly, in the worst ways imaginable. I don't know why I'm laughing. There's not a joke here. She just sexually assaults this dude and I'm laughing. But yeah, there is crazy that there's some kind of storyline that starts to form throughout the show. And then it just ends because I guess they just ran out of ideas. From what I could find, that it seems like that's, you know, they kind of went the Smiling Friends route, which I can respect. Either that or obviously, like I said before, Mr. Pickles ruined it like it did Hellbenders. Did you know that? I'm spoiling it right now. I'm going to mention this again in the Mr. Pickles video. But yeah, that piece of shit show, that disgusting Flash animated, I think it's Flash animated. I know this show is too, but they actually tried with this. That could you have guessed that this was animated in Flash, Superjail? Mr. Pickles. It was either Mr. Pickles or Hellbenders from, you know, freaking the Smiling Friends creators. I don't know why I'm forgetting their names. And they went with Mr. Pickles. Fuck them. I'm sorry I keep going off on tangents that are irrelevant to Superjail, and I keep screwing up my language. I apologize. I know I keep saying there's insane riots and stuff, right? But I don't think I've gone into that enough. There's like comedy mechanics to this. This speed and density at which this gore is happening. I keep slurring. The speed and density at which the gore is actually happening on screen is ridiculous. You just get bam, 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 person dying, bam, arm cut off, bam, a cut to this, cut to that, cut to that. And it works and flows so well. Just like chain reactions of shit happening and just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Almost like there's a rhythm to it. I mean, there is music that plays usually, and it's just such an experience, dude. You can't look away. There's stuff that's happening on screen I probably am gonna get demonetized for even showing, and you just can't look away because it's really well animated, and the way it's happening it just works. They created a work of art with degenerate, violent gore. I love it. It's fantastic. It realizes the impossible and leans into color / motion as aesthetic pleasure, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, again, it's made in Flash. That is very ironic. Flash animation usually sucks ass. It usually looks like shit. Look at the brand new Fairy Odd Parents. Well, the last season of the original series, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Look at that. It looks like crap. Now look at this show. Animated in Flash. At least I think Fairly Odd Parents was animated in Flash in the last season. I know they got a budget cut, but somehow they make it look incredibly fluid and organic. So the violence, basically, it's showing craftsmanship. And to be honest, that might be a big reason why this show actually has such a huge cult following, kind of like Invader Zim and shit like that. It's so out there, and general audiences are probably turned off just because it looks gross at first glance. And obviously there's absolutely insane, violent, incredibly offensive shit happening on screen. And I mean incredibly offensive. I love this show. It holds absolutely nothing back. But you know, if you're loud enough doing that and you make a damn good product, there are gonna be people who really just, oh man, I love that fucking show. And that's it. They got me. They got me, all right? I'm a Superjail fan. You know what? If I end up ever getting my own like place, you know, like my own actual studio, right? And I get a background where I can put little funny things. I'm getting a warden something, some kind of knickknack with the warden. Maybe I'll buy a shirt with him on it. Maybe I will be the warden for Halloween. Isn't that? I'm just gonna be a pimp. It's just a pimp outfit. It's almost like the show was competing with those like weirdly good animated blocks that Adult Swim will occasionally put during their commercials or like in between commercials as commercials, if you know what I'm talking about, but for 11 minutes straight. On rewatch, you just constantly see new shit. It's like watching Monty Python and the Holy Grail. There's always something else that you miss. There's some joke, some weird visual that, you know, just you didn't catch it the first, second, or third time watching, and now you did, because it's like, wow, there's a lot of shit crammed in there. That's what she said. I gotta wrap this up. Superjail is an escalation machine with a simple premise: maximal animation plus violent spectacle used as a form of comedy. I ask you, the audience, what is your most unreadable disaster or most rewatchable episode? Let me know in the comments if you even watch the show or not just watching this because it looks interesting. Do something for the algorithm, please. I'm begging you. Why did my Shivering Truth video only get 600 views? I mean, I put a lot of work into that, especially the thumbnail. Superjail might be one of the most violent cartoons ever made, but it's also one of the most creative, and I absolutely love it for that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I love you. I really do. I appreciate you staying till the end. I'll see you in the next one.